It is very important to realize that one more time, that cell line therapy was never meant and was never used for treatment of, shall we say, simple diseases. Nobody attempted to treat, a patient with pneumonia, because even without antibiotics, pneumonia was very well treatable, even in the old days. Okay. But cell line therapy was always really, used for treatment of, as I said, incurable, untreatable disease. And it's kind of amazing, because you have patients with bronchial asthma, which I'm sure you are all familiar with. Okay, the condition of such a patient can reach a very bad stage. Okay, and this is the asthmatoid state, when the patient is wheezing and wheezing and wheezing for hours, is sitting in emergency room, given dead medicine, nothing works. And actually, in a patient, even the healthiest person, if this condition persists, for some hours, can die of exhaustion and different things. Now, logically, every physician would say, now, a hyperallergic patient like that should never receive cell transplantation, because there will be immune reaction and the patient is going to die of anaphylactic shock from the cells. Now, you know what the Germans did, and these are published studies. When everything else has failed and the doctors were totally running out of options, they gave patient cell line therapy. No patient ever died, and every patient recovered. And these are published data. There are articles, from respectable institutions when they are proving this point. So the point is, it was kind of a saying among doctors, when you don't know what the heck to do anymore, try cells. They just might work. And in majority of instances, actually, it was the case. Right? The only group of diseases where this could not be tried were actually those diseases of central nervous system. Because there is a situation like this, that up until age of 11, you can treat any neurological disease by implanting cells anywhere in the body. You put them under the skin, into the muscle, anywhere, and they will find their way to the brain. See? And I am going to digress a little bit, because in the human body there is such a thing. I mean, when it comes to cells, it's called principle of homing. Okay, now this is linked to the principle of organospecificity. Each one of these 200 cell types of which our body is made of knows its address. See? If patient has a condition of the liver, and you will treat the patient by implanting, liver cells, from the fetus, those cells will find their way into the liver, although you injected them under the skin in the buttock or anywhere else in the body. Now, how does this work? The cells which are injured are sending, in medicine it's called current of injury, sending out. This is actually electromagnetic, radiation. And when you implant the cells of the liver, they are the correct type. In other words, they are actually liver cells. They pick up this electromagnetic radiation. It's for them like, oh, there is an SOS signal. We have to go to the rescue. And from the point of implantation, it takes 48 to 72 hours, and those cells are going to end up in the liver to do the job. If the doctor made a mistake and the patient does not have a liver condition, and the patient received implantation of the liver cells, of course they will not go into the liver, because there is no signal coming from the liver. They will just disperse in the body, no harm, no foul, so nothing actually happens. Okay, now, interestingly enough, this basic fact about the homing was presented at a meeting in Germany in 1909. And it's known as Hallstedt principle, which in English would be pronounced Hallstedt. Hallstedt was a very famous American surgeon. But the Hallstedt in Germany was a general practitioner who in his spare time was doing animal experimentation in his garage or somewhere, you know. And, you know, so this, you see, these are such a, you know, such a basic points that if you ignore it, you see, now believe me, you know, this principle of homing finally is recognized in the United States as of about 10 years ago. But not in such a general, you know, way as I'm describing it, but basically it is acknowledged as something which exists in the field of blood cells, you know, and blood diseases and all that. At least something, you see. Considering the number of patients treated, you know, in West Germany alone, 5 million, and God only knows how much in the other country. You see, in Soviet Union, they became very big in use of the cells of placenta. This is a known fact, but despite the fact that this country is enamored in the embryonic, you know, stem cell transplantation, nobody pays attention to one thing, that in placenta there are 2 layers of cells. One layer is called cytotrophoblastic cell or cytotrophoblastic cells. Cytotrophoblastic cells and the embryonic cells that the American medicine keeps on talking about are the same cells. See? Because when the sperm and egg meet and the cell division starts and the mass of cells, you know, is growing, of that growing, you know, mass of cells, only 10% will go into creation of the body of the embryo, fetus, and human being. 90% goes into placenta. So the cytotrophoblastic cells, you know, are, in terms of numbers, you know, dominating. And believe me, there's even one theory of cancer, which was written up in 1911 by a embryologist from Edinburgh in Scotland, Dr. Beard, where he claims that because there are so many of these cytotrophoblastic cells, you know, in the body, that some of them just don't know where to go, so they get dispersed throughout the body. And, you know, meaning outside of placenta, so that when the placenta is removed at the end of, you know, of delivery, you know, some of these cytotrophoblastic cells are just hanging around, and then, you know, for some odd reason, are probably the cause of cancer. So every case of cancer originates from these cytotrophoblastic cells that are left behind in the body, which are the same thing as embryonic cells. As I told you at the beginning, that embryonic cells and the cancer cells is the same thing. So it's a, you know, it's a nice vicious circle here. There's so much, you know, so many things to spend money for, you know. If that money would be given to the correct hands, like for example mine, you know, because I'm not looking for money for my own pocket, but, you know, you see, this is the proper use of money, you know, not for stupid research of taking a skin from prepuce of the penis, you know, and turning them into neurons or some different cells. Nihans, you know, made one very famous statement. There are no incurable diseases, only those that we do not know how to cure yet. So now, issue of, you know, Freud's stem cell transplantation is put aside, and this is the next part of the whole thing, which I call summary of the scientific facts. Some of them I already alluded to, but now I will try to do it in a systematic way.